You don't need to read the new book coming out in January. All right, I know that I said I was going to edit the scenes in the video because for some reason that might give it more credence that I'm not just making all these things up. So here's the exact same video for those who don't want to look at my ugly mug. Here's the video with the evidence. Enjoy. So I've been thinking, and you know that when I start thinking, I have to make a video. There's no script for this video. This is just my thoughts and ideas because while I was watching one of my old videos, I know, narcissistic, whatever. Because I was checking the quality because my OBS is messing up. Doesn't matter. You don't need to read the new book coming out in January because I'm going to give to you right now the entirety of what that book is going to be about. And when I started thinking about what direction the game is going to be heading in, what's the point of this novel? And it reminded me specifically of the scene in Remake where Aerith starts speaking, and Aerith and Cloud are at the playground, and Aerith is talking about her first love, Zack, and Cloud is having kind of this disillusionment because his mind is all messed up, his mind is all confused, which is the key thing they're going to be talking about in this book. And Aerith says Zack, and it kind of blanks out, and we only find out in Rebirth, they do a flashback of that scene, and we see, oh, she actually did say Zack. So when I was thinking about that, and when I was thinking about Cloud, I was trying to think, well, what parts don't we know about Cloud? And this kind of goes into my bigger overall ideas of merging the timelines, but when you think about Cloud's story, because, like I say multiple times, this game is to bring the compilation all together and put it into this game, and picking which storylines from the compilation are better than the storylines in OG. So, for example, the cellular degradation idea in Crisis Core is way better than the idea of Sephiroth is this evil mastermind and he wants to do this. The ideas that they show us in Ever Crisis, that Jenova has preconceived control, she's controlling, she's manipulating Sephiroth, way better story than Sephiroth is just crazy, doing things for no reason at all. It's way better told, the story. And when I was thinking about that, I was like, well, what parts of the Infantry Cloud, because to me it seems like regular stuff, but I can see how maybe to you or to other people who are not part of the Fungi Film Reviews, like, comment, subscribe, like the video right now, how they can think that, oh, I didn't know that about Cloud. Oh, I didn't know this about Cloud. And I wanted to speak specifically about that book and what stories specifically they're going to be talking about Cloud. So for those who are new to the channel, you might understand Cloud as the hero from Final Fantasy VII Original, and he's the one that goes on to defeat Sephiroth and defeat Jenova. Yay, hooray, Cloud is great and all that stuff. Angeal's the best guy for me. And in this, I'll try to break it down kind of how it is in my head of how exactly this is going to work. But if they do this properly, Angeal, Genesis, Sephiroth, and Zack, and early childhood, or not even childhood Cloud, but a little bit older Cloud, will all be making coherent sense to you, which already makes coherent sense to me, okay? And it's because, I'll try to do this in kind of an order. So the scenes from Cloud that need further clarification, that are going to be clarified in the book. First, we're going to see a flashback of Cloud from before Crisis. So we'll see Cloud's early Shinra days, where he is working alongside with the Turks. To one of the examples is to retrieve the soldier candidate CD, which was stolen, or spoiler, it was stolen. But Cloud is sent on a mission with the Turks. The point of that mission is to protect a specific doctor because she has control of the soldier DNA evolution using Mako on that CD. Cloud gets beat up, obviously, because he's just an infantryman and he's super, super weak, which I know for the Cloud lovers, you're not going to like that. But Japanese lore is meant to fail, continue, overcome. That's the Japanese kind of iteration they want to feed to their youth, to their children. Naruto, lonely boy, orphan, failed, overcome, demon slayer, killed all the family, sister is a vampire now, zombie, whatever you want to call her. I have to find a cure for her, overcome. I have to defeat the leader of the zombie clan, Muzan Jackson, okay? That's kind of the story in Japanese kind of culture. Fail because you will fail in life. Don't give up. If you're going through something difficult right now, this is not a part of it. This is for you. If you're going through something difficult right now, just know you can always reach out to friends, family, somebody that can always help you through your difficult time, because life is about a series of failures and how you overcome them. Back to Final Fantasy VII. Cloud's defending a doctor, and they go on a mission, and Cloud gets beat up, and they steal the disc from this doctor, which has a soldier program. The people who steal this disc from the doctor is Avalanche. So Fajito, Sears, and Elfie are part of Avalanche A. That Avalanche A then gets broken up into 3 separate avalanches, or let's say 2 separate avalanches. Original Avalanche A, which is all 3 of them, then Elfie and Sears form Avalanche B, and Fajito kind of betrays them and forms Avalanche C because he wants to destroy everything. Sears and Elfie just want to destroy Shinra because they obviously don't want to destroy the whole world, but Fujito's on some next level stuff. So Fujito creates this, I guess, this dualism with the Shinra soldier program. He creates what he calls sparrows. And one of their bases is in it's not in Rocket Town, they attack Rocket Town, but one of their bases is in Angeal Inn, and that's where they do all the training, and they end up making, from that disc, a copy of the soldier program, and Fajito is able to kidnap 2 of Zack's friends, Sebastian and Issei. I made a video on Merge the Timelines on how that's important into Crisis Core and how that's important into 7R, but go watch that video for that information. Showing that Fajito is a mad scientist, kind of just like Hojo. They actually try to bribe Hojo to bring him over to help the Avalanche people, but Hojo, the one symbol of being good father, says, I can never abandon Sephiroth, which is like, okay, finally. Very evil people could still do one good thing, and we have to acknowledge the good things that come from a bad person and the bad things that come from a good person. Yin and yang, there's a little bit of bad and there's a little bit of good in all of us. So, back to the book. They're going to talk specifically about that mission and how Avalanche got a hold of the soldier program. We're going to get a full dialogue about Cloud, his early infantry failures, and how he's viewing himself and why he wants to join Soldier, and how he was super motivated to join it through Sephiroth's accomplishments. There might be a small kind of blip of the Sephiroth accomplishments that kind of were like, I want to be like Sephiroth. Because we have to remember, when Cloud's a kid and makes a promise to Tifa, that's around the time that Sephiroth got the acknowledgement for defeating the remaining Wutai, Wushians, all those people in the Wutai War. So that's how Sephiroth got his notoriety, when the camera guy takes his picture and Sephiroth has his Genova headache and goes to the edge of creation for 1, 2, 3, 4, how many times he was there, how long he was there, we don't know. We just know that he's been there before, and he's in this sense of kind of clarity at that point in time. And that Sephiroth is pre-Nibelheim Sephiroth, and is not the same Sephiroth as the rest of the game. This is not a Genova video, but just know Genova's controlling Sephiroth. Just to have to say it, just so you're aware. So, moving on from that scene and how Cloud is going to be, we're going to see a story of how Cloud and what motivated him to join Shinra. We're also going to see Cloud and Zack, and we're going to see the deepening of their relationship. We're going to see Cloud and Zack become friends, meet each other in Nibelheim, and we're going to get details, and this is where Square, NOJIMA can do something fantastic to bridge the entirety of the 3 freaking loveless bros, Genesis, Sephiroth, and Angeal. Because when Zack meets Cloud in Nibelheim, they're on the mission to find Hollander, the They're on the mission to retrieve the science products that Hollander is using that was stolen from Shinra, the capsule Bacta tank things. And Cloud is there with us in Nibelheim. If you remember, he actually gets knocked out in the bathhouse part, I guess, of it before we actually go and fight Genesis and we think we kill him. And before the battle of Angeal and Zack is in Nibelheim. Cloud sees Zack leave with his soldier first class sword, and he sees him come back with the Buster sword. Cloud sees this. So Cloud knows Zack left, came back, he's different now. He's sad, he's depressed. You can see him walking slowly towards the helicopter. And I'll try to clip a lot of these things because I'm just doing it off memory, but I'll try to clip a lot of the scenes in this video so you don't just get annoyed of looking at my beautiful face. But that's going to be a major point. And if we get Zack talking, okay, ignore that because that's not where it's going to happen. Then we're going to move on to the Nibelheim incident, the Nibelheim events, all that stuff. So just think now we're in Zack and Cloud's relationship building that's going to be happening in the book. So we go to the book where now we move forward, whatever, in time. We see that we run into Cloud in Junon. There might be some small talk about that. So Cloud knows about, even though Cloud was sick and was puking and had motion sickness or whatever was going on, that he friggin' laughs at Yuffie for, but he has the exact same thing. We're going to see now Zack chasing Hollander through Junon. Cloud is in Junon. Another time we're there together, where they're going to be telling, well, why, Cloud, why are you in Junon? What's he going to have to answer? There's a guy who escaped. We were sent to back up the soldier program, blah, 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 blah. This will show that Cloud now knows who Hollander is. And I know you might think, oh, this is so obvious. It's not obvious to a lot of people. It's not obvious to a lot of people. So now they're going to build, okay, Cloud, Zack, Hollander. Okay, so Cloud now knows Hollander. He knows about Genesis. He knows, well, okay. Cloud now knows about Hollander. Zack's going to explain the missions and what's going on. We're going to get that whole detail about it. Sorry, I'm excited. Then, what happens after that mission? Sephiroth, the great commander, nice guy that is, says, we have a little break right now. We have a little break right now. If you want to go see on anybody that might be in the slums, now's the time to do it. Clearly referencing that Sephiroth knows who Aerith is. Sephiroth doesn't mind that Zack is dating Aerith, showing that Sephiroth has no animosity towards Aerith at this time. Okay? So Sephiroth, Aerith, they're homeboys. Sephiroth and Zack, they're homeboys. You have to also understand, Sephiroth now sees Zack for the first time with the Buster Sword. Sephiroth obviously knows, this is not your sword. This is my best friend's sword, who saved him when we were children or teenagers against Jenova. This is the same guy who, when I was sparring with Genesis, blocked my Masamune strike, the greatest sword ever, with the handle of the Buster Sword. Easy. Genesis and Sephiroth are attacking each other, doing craters into the ground, and Angeal, the best soldier, comes in and says, block, block, double block, it doesn't matter. Remember that. That matters. Okay. Sephiroth, cool Aerith, cool Zack, says, yo, go see your girl. Zack leaves to go chill with his girl, make the freaking wagons, whatever. Goes, gets called back from Sephiroth, you need to come in. Goes in, finds out they have to go to Nibelheim, all this stuff. We're getting sent on a mission. We know through Before Crisis that the president sent them to the Nibelheim reactor. We know through understanding Final Fantasy VII that Hojo knows about the reactor, but all the other scientists, like Hollander, don't know that Hojo knows where Jenova is being held, because Hollander tells us in Crisis Core that even Hojo, when Genesis is getting pissed off, right, I think it's at Nibelheim, it's like, well, if I had the Jenova cells, maybe I could cure you, Genesis. And then he's like, Hollander's like, even Hojo doesn't know where the Jenova cells are being kept, which shows us that the other members of the science department are being kept in the dark. We also have to remember that Hollander was supposed to be the lead scientist after Professor Gast, but Hojo ousted him. Hollander is a superior scientist to Hojo. You need to understand that. That's why Hojo's experiment with Sephiroth as a Jenova clone failed. That's why Hollander's experiment with Angeal as a Jenova clone was successful. Understand that. One failed one with Genesis, one successful one with Angeal, the greatest soldier. So, we're going to then move to Nibelheim with Zack and Cloud. A lot of the confusion from Final Fantasy VII comes from Square deliberately misguiding us. We see the flashback scene in Calm and Rebirth where we're mixing up Cloud and Zack. We know that Cloud is part of the infantryman, but he's not actually the soldier. But Cloud's avatar is being shown onto Zack to show the confusion that Cloud has in his head. And I made a video a while ago that talked about how does Cloud know some of these certain ideas? Because in the Calm flashback, after we go into the reactor, we have to understand that Cloud would not have this memory. All the discussions that Sephiroth is having with Zack, Cloud would not have this memory. Unless, and it's something that I hate that I saw when I was rewatching somebody playing through Crisis Core, but when Sephiroth has his flashback with Genesis coming in, that scene right there, if you look at the dialogue between Rebirth and you look at the dialogue between Crisis Core, right when Genesis comes in, the dialogue stops and we flash back to Cloud in Calm telling the story. So Zack was present for that discussion with Sephiroth, where Genesis tells Sephiroth, you're a monster, because remember, soldiers equals monsters in this whole idea. Angeal says, I'm a monster. He says it on the highway. Genesis says, you're a monster. He says it in Bonoro, but before he blows out his black wing. And the anti-Shinra tank, missile, whatever, that's supposed to only attack monsters, attacks Zack when he's outside the church. Clearly showing the parallels between soldiers equals monsters, which is something I talk about a lot on this channel. If you don't really watch a lot of YouTube stuff and you just follow the mainstream kind of, whoa, it's a brand new book. Like, those kind of people, you won't really get this this one-on-one vibe where it's just me and you and the camera and we talking, we chilling. So, when we get to Nibelheim and the reactor, something that always bothered me was how does Cloud have these memories of this dialogue? Because Cloud is outside of the reactor protecting Tifa from going into the reactor and eventually gets beat up by one of the Genesis clones. So when you play Crisis Core and that whole activity Genesis happens and Genesis tells Sephiroth, you were put together by a bunch of failed experiments to make you the perfect monster. Which, when you think about it logically, how can a whole bunch of failed experiments then make Sephiroth a perfect experiment? Doesn't make sense. It would only make sense that Sephiroth would therefore be the best of the failed experiments. If you use all the best of the failed parts, it would then be the best of the failed experiments, but still in the failed category, not the successful category. So then, go back down. Sephiroth has, am I human? I don't know. When Genesis is talking, he says the most important line of Sephiroth's freaking career, which reflects exactly what they developed for us in Ever Crisis about Sephiroth being a lonely boy looking for his mother and being unsure how to find Genova, who he believes is his mother, who is actually Dr. Lucrezia Crescent. And Sephiroth, paraphrasing here, tells Genesis, I don't know if this is the lie that I've been looking for my entire life, clearly showing that he's still empty inside as an adult from the misgivings of having a mother who was not there for him, having a father who was not there for him, or if it's a lie that you've misconstrued. Either way, you will rot, telling Genesis, I'm not going to help you. If we're all monsters, then we'll all die as monsters, essentially. Then Genesis says, oh, like a perfect monster would say, and flies away through the roof, through whatever. We don't know how these guys teleport, but they teleport. So, where does that put us with the book now? How does that, Fungi, well, you're saying this the book and it's this, but you're going on a tangent against Sephiroth and Nibelheim, and how does that end to the book? This is where it's important. Because in Crisis Core, we see that when we first entered Nibelheim, we get emails from Cloud, hey, you want to come hang out with my mom? We see that after he gets beat up at the Nibelheim reactor, Zack helps him down all the way to the inn. Cloud wakes up out of being freaking knocked out from Tifa helping carrying him down to the inn. And you see that Zack and Cloud are having a one-to-one discussion. They're both in the same room. They're both bonding over everything they've got going on. We found out in Rebirth the extent of that discussion, which is not in the original game. This is an additional lore in Rebirth where they talk about this girl, she's amazing, she's a city girl, showing that she's my girlfriend, showing the additional dialogue from Zack speaking to Cloud about his love for Aerith. Now, why do those scenes matter in the book or in the upcoming book? Because it's going to be a clear discussion about, well, what happened, Zack? What happened at the reactor? And we find out when we first leave to go into, to go check on Sephiroth, we find out it says on the 7th day. And that's something I never put together completely. But when you think about it, Cloud's recovering from being knocked out. Zack's chilling in the Nibelheim Inn. Sephiroth is in the Shinra Manor reading all the books, reading Professor Gas' report, or reading Hojo's renditions of Professor Gas' report. And it shows us that the friendship that Cloud and Zack had was already very tight. Zack is invited from Cloud to go have dinner with his mom. Cloud is embarrassed to go outside of the hotel because he doesn't want to run into Tifa. And he's been there for 7 days, recovering, talking with Zack for 7 days. So during those 7 days, Zack would be the one telling him, when Cloud's like, well, what happened at the reactor? Where's Sephiroth? Zack would be the one telling Cloud everything that has been happening over those last 7 days. Zack would be the one telling Cloud, yeah, man, I got this sword because, I had to defeat my mentor, and he decided that he wanted to do this and do that, and I used this, and there's this guy called Genesis who showed up, keeps showing up everywhere I go, and now he's at the reactor, and I don't know where he went now, but we got to find and track him down, and blah, 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 blah. That's going to be the main piece that they want to show us for Cloud's character, that will fill in the gap of how does Cloud remember this if he's Mako poisoned and messed his memory? How does Cloud have some of Zack's memories? That'll bridge the gap there. I used to always think, well, maybe when they were experimenting, after the Nibelheim incident, when they were experimenting on Zack, they used the Genova cells from Zack to put them in Cloud, and because they used a blood sample from Zack, that's how Cloud inherited some of the memories. But we find out in Rebirth, there's a Genova tank of cells, I think there's 3 of them, underneath in the Nibelheim reactor, in the Shinra Manor. So that puts an X on that whole idea of, he inherited through Zack. No, he inherited them because Zack told him. Zack told Cloud his entire life story during those 7 days of his girlfriend, of Cisne, maybe not, of his new love, of Angeal, of Genesis, of Sephiroth, of what is going on in the game, in the lore. And for me, if that's the direction that they go, this is phenomenal because it opens the door to merge Genesis and Angeal in 7R. We still don't have their names in 7R series. And that gives a huge ability to introduce them, whether big or small, to show us what's happening in Part 4, Part 5, when we fight Weiss and when we fight Nero, and Genesis is alive, but he's dead, but all this stuff. And that's what's going to be in the book. There's also for the Aerith and for the, I guess I'll talk about the Aerith and, what's the Tifa and Aerith part? The Tifa and Aerith part is going to be them chatting. Anytime you see kind of Cloud, same thing like I said, when you see Aerith and Cloud at the playground talking and she goes kind of, Zack, and it's blanked out, and then you see the flashback and Rebirth of what they actually said. It's going to be every single time that Tifa and Aerith are hiding the true nature of Zack in Cloud to him. So one of the main scenes that I can think of just off the top of my head is when Tifa and Aerith are talking right outside Zack's place, and they're kind of whispering to each other. And one of the other parts is going to be when Tifa says, well, let me talk to Aerith, when they're in Nibelheim before they go back to the Golden Saucer. And those are going to be the scenes that they're further elaborated. That discussion that Tifa has with Aerith, hey, Cloud's kind of remembering. I don't really know. This kind of sounds like Zack. I met Zack. You met Zack. I'm kind of confused. How did you remember this but doesn't remember this? It's because Zack told them. It's because Zack told him. And the fact that he was there after chasing them down when he woke up from being knocked out by the explosion from Sephiroth in the fire in Nibelheim, when he was knocked out on the ground next to Zangan, outside of his mother's place. So I wanted to come on here, make a quick video, unscripted, just talking to you guys. I might not even do a thumbnail. My OBS has been acting up. So I wanted to just get this out to you as soon as possible to let you know you don't have to read the book. I just gave you everything that's going to be in the book. We have a month, 2 months until that date. You're still going to say I'm wrong. When that book comes out and everything that I said here today is now given to you, will you then lend some more credence to the idea that Genova is the big bad? Because that's all what I'm leading you to. Genova's the big bad. Genova's controlling everybody through her mimic ability. Sephiroth's going to break free. Kill her, sacrifice himself, however you want to do it. Break the sword of the hold of Masamune. Marazamune, or some guy said it's not Masamune, it's Masamune, whatever he said. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but clearly. So that's what I want to talk about today. So hope you enjoyed the video. If you disagree with all of this, that's fine. I don't mind. We can talk about it in the comments. As usual, this channel is about having discussions, breaking down ideas, and seeing if we can come to maybe the middle of both of our ideas to see, okay, well, where do we align? Where do we differ? Why do we differ? And having a full conversation, because a lot of the world, people just want to get on one side or get on that side or get upside here or get under here. And I'm just about having conversations. I don't care if it's something that I completely disagree with. I don't care if it's something that I completely agree with. I'm okay with hearing people out, hearing what they want to talk about. And that's the whole point of content creation. It's about sharing your personal expectation, your personal understanding, your personal view of what's going on, and just sharing with you. And really, I want to hear the feedback of, yo, this crazy guy's on the freaking video again talking about Genova. Yes, always, always. So that's all we got. Catch you guys on the next video. And if there's something you disagree with, just argue about it in the comments. Bring your A game. Hey.